Bitcoin has gone from the shadows of the internet to the boardrooms of Wall Street. BlackRock calls it a legitimate financial instrument. Nations are building strategic reserves. And yet, even in 2025, powerful voices still call it a tool for criminals. Jamie Dimon, head of JP Morgan, a bank now offering Bitcoin custody, still repeats the line that Bitcoin is mainly for crime. The European Central Bank continues to warn about crime and money laundering when it speaks about crypto and stablecoins. And because most people don't distinguish between Bitcoin, stablecoins, and the thousands of altcoins, that stigma still sticks to Bitcoin. In the US, senators keep echoing the same narrative. Maybe you've even heard it yourself, from colleagues, family, friends. Isn't Bitcoin just for criminals? This video isn't about hype. It's about cutting through one of the oldest myths in finance and showing you the reality behind it. And more than that, it's meant to give you the arguments you need the next time someone drops this line on you. One of the very first use cases of Bitcoin was indeed in the shadows, Silk Road, a darknet marketplace where people traded drugs, fake IDs, even weapons. Bitcoin was the payment method. That story was catnip for the media. Internet drug money, the currency of criminals. Governments repeated it. Banks repeated it. And once a narrative like that sticks, it takes years to undo. But here's the truth. Bitcoin was not designed for crime. It was designed for freedom. Silk Road was just the first chapter, not the whole book. The problem is, too many still think it is. Fast forward to today, BlackRock's CEO, Larry Fink, publicly calls Bitcoin a legitimate financial asset. JP Morgan offers Bitcoin custody for clients, and nations are quietly building strategic reserves. And yet, the myth persists. Jamie Dimon still warns about crime. The European Central Bank still ties crypto to money laundering and financial crime. US senators still frame digital assets as a threat. But here's the problem. When regulators or bankers speak about crypto, they usually mean the entire spectrum: stablecoins, altcoins, scams. The average person doesn't separate those categories. And so the old label, Bitcoin is for criminals, survives, even though the data says otherwise. Chainalysis, which works with law enforcement, publishes a yearly crypto crime report. The 2025 edition shows that in 2024, only 0.14% of all crypto transaction volume was tied to crime. That's nearly nothing. And Bitcoin's share of that tiny fraction is shrinking every year. Why? Because Bitcoin is actually terrible for crime. Every transaction is permanent. Every coin is traceable. Criminals figured this out. They've been moving away from Bitcoin into tools that look like dollars but move faster, stable coins. Let's be clear, criminals didn't disappear, they simply shifted. Stablecoins now account for more than 60% of illicit crypto transactions. Why? Because they behave like fiat. They blend into the dollar system. But the bigger point is this: fiat itself has always been the real engine of crime. The United Nations estimates that 2 to 5% of global GDP is laundered every single year. That's trillions of dollars moving through banks, shell companies, cash networks. Compare that to Bitcoin, transparent, auditable, immutable. Yes, you can move money without permission, but you can't hide it. Every transaction leaves a permanent trail. So the irony is clear. Bitcoin is painted as criminal money, but in practice it's the most transparent ledger humanity has ever created. The real paradise for crime is the fiat system, not Bitcoin. So why does the myth survive? Because it's useful. Banks can keep saying Bitcoin is for criminals even while offering Bitcoin products. Politicians can score points by scaring voters. And regulators prefer simple headlines over nuance. The European Central Bank warns about crime in crypto. Jamie Dimon repeats the old lines. US senators echo the same talking points. And the public, not distinguishing Bitcoin from the rest, keeps repeating the myth. But the reality has moved on. Wall Street embraces Bitcoin. Nations accumulate it. Ordinary savers see it as protection, not as a crime tool. So here's the truth. If in 2025 someone still says Bitcoin is only for criminals, they're stuck in 2013. The myth never evolved, but Bitcoin did. Bitcoin isn't the problem. The problem is ignorance and outdated narratives. 15 years on, the data is clear. Bitcoin is not the currency of crime. It's the currency of freedom. But myths die hard, from bankers like Jamie Dimon to regulators at the ECB and senators in Washington. The old script keeps getting recycled, and too many people still repeat it because they don't separate Bitcoin from the rest of crypto. If you've watched this far, you now hold the facts. So the next time someone says Bitcoin is just for criminals, you won't just roll your eyes. You'll have the arguments to set the record straight. And if this video helped you see Bitcoin more clearly, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes the old myth.